You just got your tax refund. $2,100 hits your checking account, and immediately your brain is like, oh, hell yes, we're getting that new TV. You buy stuff you've been wanting, you go out to dinner somewhere nice, maybe you book a little weekend getaway. It feels like free money, like a bonus, like you just won something. Except, here's the uncomfortable truth. That $2,100 was always yours. You just gave the government an interest-free loan for 12 months, and you're celebrating getting your own money back like it's Christmas morning. And somehow, despite knowing this intellectually, it still feels absolutely amazing. My name is Minted Finance, and I spend way too much time thinking about why our brains are complete disasters when it comes to understanding money. If you're someone who's ever gotten a tax refund and immediately spent it on something you'd never buy with a regular paycheck, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because we're about to dive into one of the weirdest psychological tricks your brain plays on you, and why understanding it might actually be the key to building real wealth. Here's the thing, and I need you to really sit with this for a second. A tax refund isn't found money. It's not a bonus. It's not the government being generous. It's literally your money that you overpaid in taxes throughout the year, sitting in the government's account earning them interest while you got nothing, and now they're giving it back to you. It's like if I borrowed $100 from you in January, kept it in my pocket for a year, and then in December I handed you a $100 bill and you threw me a party. That's objectively insane. But 73% of Americans get a tax refund every year, and the average amount is right around $3,000. $3,000. That's $250 a month that could have been in your paycheck, in your bank account, working for you. Instead, it was working for the government. And you know what the wildest part is? People plan for this. They count on it. A study by the National Retail Federation found that 37% of Americans use their tax refund to pay off debt. 37%, which means they spent the entire year paying interest on credit card balances or loans while simultaneously giving the government an interest-free loan of their own money. The math on that is genuinely painful. But let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself on this one. When was the last time you got your regular paycheck and thought, yes, it's payday, time to treat myself to something special? Probably never, right? Your paycheck hits your account and it immediately gets absorbed into your mental category of regular money that has to cover regular expenses, rent, groceries, gas, bills, whatever. It's spoken for before it even arrives. But a tax refund? That feels different. That feels like bonus money, even though it's literally just a delayed portion of your regular paychecks that you overpaid. This is where it gets interesting. Behavioral economists have a term for this. It's called mental accounting, and it's one of the main reasons most people stay broke. Mental accounting is when we treat money differently based on where it came from or what we plan to use it for, even though money is completely fungible. A dollar is a dollar is a dollar, whether it came from your paycheck, a tax refund, birthday cash from grandma, or you found it on the street. But our brains absolutely do not work that way. We create these little mental buckets. There's rent money and grocery money and fun money and savings money. And we get really weird about not mixing them, even when it makes no logical sense. You'll have someone with $8,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and $3,000 sitting in a savings account earning 0.5%. Mathematically, they should take that $3,000 and pay down the debt immediately, but they won't, because that money is in the emergency fund bucket and debt payoff is a different bucket. And mixing buckets feels wrong even though it's costing them literally hundreds of dollars a month in interest. Now, look, mental accounting isn't always bad. Having designated buckets for different expenses can actually help with budgeting. The problem is when we treat identical money as fundamentally different based solely on its origin. And tax refunds are the perfect example of this because they trigger something psychologists call the windfall effect. Money that feels like it came from nowhere gets spent very differently than money we feel like we worked for. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research found that people are about 3 times more likely to spend windfall money on luxury or discretionary purchases compared to earned income. 3 times! Same person, same financial situation, completely different spending behavior just because of how the money showed up. And this isn't just tax refunds. It's rebates, gifts, bonuses, anything that feels like extra money rather than regular money. Here's what most people don't realize. This mental accounting thing is costing you massive amounts of wealth over your lifetime. Let's run the actual numbers because this gets wild. Let's say you're someone who gets the average $3,000 refund every year. That means you're overpaying your taxes by about $250 a month. Now, if instead of getting that refund, you adjusted your withholdings so that $250 showed up in your paycheck every month and you invested it in a basic index fund averaging 8% annual returns, after 30 years, you'd have about $367,000. $367,000! But here's what actually happens for most people. They get the $3,000 refund, they spend probably half of it on stuff they wouldn't normally buy, and maybe they save the other half if they're being responsible. So over 30 years, even if they invested that $1,500 per year, they'd have about $170,000. Same total amount of money, same person, but the difference in how it arrives costs them almost $200,000 in lifetime wealth. That's the price of mental accounting. But wait, it gets worse, because there's another psychological phenomenon at play here, called payment decoupling. This is when the pain of paying for something is separated from the pleasure of consuming it. Think about it like this. When you buy something with your regular paycheck, you feel the trade-off. You're choosing to spend this money on this thing instead of saving it or spending it on something else. There's a mental transaction that happens where you weigh whether it's worth it. But when you buy something with refund money, that mental transaction doesn't happen. The pain of earning that money happened months ago, spread across your paychecks in tiny increments you didn't even notice. By the time the refund shows up, it's completely decoupled from the work you did to earn it. So spending it doesn't hurt. It's why you'll drop $800 on a new TV with refund money when you'd agonize for weeks over that purchase with regular income. The pain of payment has been decoupled from the pleasure of purchase. And companies know this. Retailers don't run tax refund sales in January by accident. They know that tax refund season, roughly February through April, is when people have this big chunk of money that feels like free money, and they're actively targeting it. According to the National Retail Federation, about 30% of tax refunds get spent on discretionary purchases like electronics, clothing, and dining out. That's about $30 billion in retail spending, driven specifically by people treating their own money like it's a gift from the universe. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Minted Finance, but I actually like getting a big refund. It's like forced savings. If I had that money in my paycheck, I'd just spend it. And look, I hear this argument a lot, and I get where it's coming from, but it's wrong for multiple reasons. First, it's not forced savings if you spend it the second it arrives. Second, even if you do save some of it, you've still lost a year of potential growth on that money. Third, and this is the important one, if you don't trust yourself to not spend money that's in your bank account, the solution isn't to give it to the government. The solution is to automate actual savings. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to a savings or investment account on the day your paycheck hits. If you never see the money in your checking account, you won't spend it, and it'll actually be working for you instead of sitting with the IRS doing nothing. You get the same psychological benefit of forced savings without the massive opportunity cost of an interest-free loan to the government. Here's the thing that really frustrates me about all this. We've been conditioned to think that getting a big tax refund is a good thing. People brag about it. Ooh, I'm getting $4,000 back this year, like it's an accomplishment. But what you're actually saying is, I'm so bad at managing my withholdings that I overpaid the government by $4,000 and got no return on it. That's not a win. That's financial illiteracy dressed up as responsibility. And the government isn't going to tell you this is dumb because why would they? They get billions of dollars in interest-free loans from citizens who don't understand how withholdings work. It's free money for them. According to the IRS, they issue about 122 million refunds per year, totaling around $350 billion. $350 billion that American taxpayers overpaid and got zero interest on, while the government held it.
But here's where the psychology gets really interesting. There's research showing that even when people are fully educated on the math, even when they understand they're giving an interest-free loan to the government, many still prefer to get a refund rather than break even or owe a small amount. Why? Because of something called loss aversion. Loss aversion is this principle that humans feel the pain of losing money about twice as intensely as we feel the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So owing the IRS $500 at tax time feels way worse than getting a $500 refund feels good, even though mathematically they're the same distance from breaking even. People would rather overpay by $1,000 and get that back than risk underpaying by $200 and having to write a check. We're so afraid of the loss that we'll accept a guaranteed negative outcome to avoid even the possibility of it. This is the same psychological quirk that makes people hold losing stocks too long and sell winning stocks too early, that makes people stay in bad relationships because breaking up feels like losing something, that makes people refuse to negotiate for fear of losing a deal. We're wired to avoid loss more than we're wired to pursue gain, and financial institutions exploit this constantly. Now look, I'm not saying you should try to owe money at tax time. The goal isn't to underpay and get hit with penalties. The goal is to break even or get as close to breaking even as possible so that your money is working for you all year long instead of sitting with the government. And this is completely doable. You just need to actually look at your W-4 and adjust your withholdings based on your real tax situation. Here's what most people don't realize. The W-4 form isn't set in stone. You can change it whenever you want. You can adjust it multiple times a year if you need to. If you're consistently getting big refunds, you're withholding too much, and you should reduce your withholding. If you're consistently owing money, you're withholding too little, and you should increase it. The IRS literally has a free withholding calculator on their website that'll tell you exactly what to put on your W-4 to break even. It takes maybe 15 minutes. But people don't do this because either they don't know they can, or they actually like getting the refund despite the terrible math, or they're just putting off the decision because taxes feel complicated and annoying. So they keep giving interest-free loans to the government year after year, and they keep treating their own money like it's a gift when it comes back, and they keep spending it in ways they wouldn't spend regular income. Let me tell you about something that happened to a friend of mine, because this really illustrates how insane our mental accounting can get. She got a $4,500 refund one year. She was super excited, treating it like this huge windfall. She used $1,500 to pay down credit card debt, which is good. She put $1,000 in savings, also good. And she spent $2,000 on a vacation, which fine, vacations are nice. But here's the thing. At the same time she was excited about this refund, she was also stressing about money constantly. She was living paycheck to paycheck, overdrafting her account regularly, paying overdraft fees. And I was like, you realize that $4,500 refund means you were overpaying your taxes by $375 a month, right? And she was like, yeah, so? And I was like, so if you'd had that $375 in your paycheck every month, you wouldn't have overdrafted your account 8 times last year. You wouldn't have paid those $280 in overdraft fees. You'd have had a cushion. Instead, you gave the government an interest-free loan while paying the bank fees for not having enough money in your checking account. You literally paid money to not have access to your own money. And this broke her brain a little bit because she'd never thought about it that way. She'd just thought, big refund, good. Regular paycheck, boring. But when you actually do the math, she lost money on that deal. Not even counting the lost investment returns, just the direct overdraft fees she paid to get her own money back late. This is what mental accounting does. It creates these completely irrational behaviors where we'll pay to borrow money at 22% interest while also lending our own money at 0% interest and feeling good about it. It's like if you saw someone at a casino putting money on red while also betting an equal amount on black, and when they break even, they celebrate like they won. That's what we're doing with tax refunds. Here's what I want you to do, and this is genuinely going to change how you think about your money. First, figure out if you're consistently getting refunds or owing money. If you're getting refunds over $1,000 pretty much every year, you need to adjust your withholding. Go to the IRS withholding calculator, answer the questions, see what it says you should be claiming on your W-4, and then actually update your W-4 with your employer. Second, if you do adjust your withholdings and start seeing more money in your paycheck, immediately set up automation so that money goes somewhere useful. If you were previously getting a $3,000 refund, that's $250 a month. Set up an automatic transfer of $250 per month from checking to a high-yield savings account or investment account on the same day your paycheck hits. That way you never see it, you never spend it, but it's actually working for you instead of sitting with the government. And this is completely doable. You just need to actually look at your W-4 and adjust your withholdings based on your real tax situation. Third, and this is the hard one, you need to retrain your brain to stop treating different sources of money differently. A dollar is a dollar, whether it came from a paycheck, a bonus, a gift, a refund, whatever. It has the same value, the same potential, the same opportunity cost. Stop creating these arbitrary mental categories that make you spend windfall money differently than earned money. Make spending decisions based on your actual financial situation and goals, not based on how the money arrived in your account. Fourth, if you've already filed and you're expecting a refund this year, I want you to do something different with it. Don't treat it like free money. Treat it like it's a delayed paycheck, because that's what it is. If you wouldn't buy something with a regular paycheck, don't buy it with refund money. Use it the same way you'd use any other chunk of money, some to debt if you have it, some to savings, some to investing, and yes, some to things you enjoy, but in the same proportions you'd use for regular income. Here's what most people don't realize about building wealth. It's not about making more money, although that helps. It's about understanding the psychological tricks your brain plays on you and setting up systems that counteract them. Mental accounting is one of the biggest wealth destroyers out there because it makes you treat identical money differently based on arbitrary categories. But once you see it, once you understand it, you can fix it. And the fix is simple. Eliminate the categories. Money is money. It doesn't matter if it came from a paycheck, a refund, a birthday card from your aunt. What matters is what you do with it, and what you do with it should be based on your financial goals and priorities, not based on what mental bucket it fell into when it arrived. The reason refunds feel like free money is just a quirk of psychology that you can choose to ignore once you understand it. And choosing to ignore it, choosing to see money as money regardless of its source, that might be the single most valuable financial decision you make this year.